Well, this video is personal to me, and I'm struggling a bit with it. It concerns my damaged lungs. Today is the 4th of December 2021. Yesterday, I went to the new Papworth Hospital in Cambridge for my appointment to try and diagnose my extremely poor breathing problems. This breathing problem has been around for a time, but over the past 4 or 5 weeks it seems to have got much worse. An example of just how bad it's become: the Tesco delivery man came the other evening and he had 3 blue trays full of deliveries. I took all of the items out of the blue trays, put them into large carrier bags, pushed the bags down the passage a little bit with my legs so I could close the front door. I shut the door and I was completely out of breath, and I mean desperately out of breath. I couldn't breathe at all. I stood leaning against forward on the wall for a few minutes, not seeming to get very far. So I managed to get myself down the passage and sit down in the living room. I sat and I took long, regular breaths, trying to get back in control of my breathing. It took about 5 minutes or more before I was back to something like normal. It's a terrible feeling when you can't breathe. Your initial instinct is panic, absolute blind bloody panic. And that's the worst thing you can do. And even though I know that, it's still really hard to control that terrible feeling. I've been to Adam Brooks a couple of times about this lung problem, and it was Adam Brooks that referred me to Papworth. A word here about the new Papworth Hospital in Cambridge. You can't fail to be impressed by the building and the staff. The whole operation works like clockwork, nothing like any other place I've ever been to. Other people were there, all said the same thing. I went to the day ward, where I was signed in and then offered tea and coffee and a sandwich. This happened to me several times during the day, the offer of food and drink. I was there from 11:45 in the morning to about 5 o'clock in the evening. As I'm insulin dependent, diabetic, I refused the sandwich, and the reason for that is 2 slices of bread would be probably 40 grams of carbohydrate, and that would require me to inject 4 units of fast-acting Nova Rapid to counteract it. As I detest injecting myself, I find it easier not to eat and to simply use my knowledge of my own diabetic needs. The only risk would be that my blood glucose would sink too low, but I never go anywhere without my supply of glucose tablets, and I now knew that if the numbers got too low, I could simply ask for a sandwich. Well, I completed all of my tests and then saw a lady doctor, charming lady, can't remember her name, which would be unforgivable, who went through all the symptoms and explained the reasons for them. Well, not good news, but I never expected to be, as nobody goes to Papworth knowing what they're famous for without feeling some sort of trepidation. Well, that was me. We went through all of the points that she felt was relevant to my situation as to where I might have acquired this damage to my lungs. I told her that for about 20 years ago we moved into our current bungalow, which had just been decorated by the Housing Association immediately before we moved in. The bedroom furniture that we had filled the small room, but we were delighted to have such a really smashing bungalow in a beautiful area of the country. A few years later, Doreen found that some of her clothes in the wardrobes had mould on them, We started to diligently check the bedroom and found out the whole back wall of the bedroom, which was the outside wall of the bungalow, had mould growing on it. And we had to throw away basically all of our clothing. It couldn't be saved. As we were not able to get to the back wall due to the two large wardrobes and the bed, I had to lean the wardrobes forward as much as I could and then to spray white vinegar down the back of the units. I'd done this every day for a week, and we scrubbed out every cupboard, every wardrobe, every drawer in the bedroom. Nightmare job. Everything that you've got, which ain't been destroyed by mould, you've got to find another place for while you're scrubbing out cupboards and drawers. Mould is caused by damp. I got in touch with our housing association and asked them whether I could have the bungalow outside wall treated with damp-proof course between the two brick units. They sent a man down and he checked, and it had already been done, so that didn't help much. I bought a big dehumidifier suitable for a 4-bedroom house. Now we've got a little tiny 1-bedroom bungalow, so a bit of an overkill, but it worked. It's run every night and removes over a gallon of water every single night. You think, Christ, where's that come from? A gallon of water? It's a huge amount. Can you imagine a big bucket half full of water and you throw it over your bedroom? Well, that's what it is, half a gallon of water a night. Now, to our knowledge, there is no mould in the bedroom at this point, to our knowledge. But, being as we can't get to the back wall, and I'm not capable now of leaning forward wardrobes forward without dropping them, there might be, but I don't think there is. Can't smell anything, clothes are clean and tidy, so it's probably not. When we moved in about 20 years ago, I was still road running 5 or 6 miles a day, every day, so I certainly didn't have any breathing problems then. Now that don't mean to say I didn't have damage to my lungs. What it means is that the damage was not so far advanced to be showing symptoms. I've got something called interstitial lung disease from an unknown source. Long term, that meant absolutely nothing to me at all. The doctor showed me x-rays that they'd taken that day and showed me the areas of my lungs that had scar damage. Now that's the problem, scar damage. Like all scar damage, it grows continuously. The damage was to both lungs. Now here's the bad news, and it comes as a shock. Although you're expecting something, you don't expect. The bad news is it cannot be cured. And it's progressive, which means it's a certainty it will get worse. In the past 4 or 5 weeks when it go on, it's going to get worse quickly. The doctor told me there are 2 tablets that are available to help manage the problem. Neither can effect a cure because it's incurable, but with luck they can extend the life of my lungs. One tablet was immediately not available to me, as it can cause serious kidney damage. And as I've only got 25% of my kidney function left, it wasn't something that I could have. The second tablet is called NINTEDANIB. It did not have so much of a risk as the first tablet, but it would still cause kidney damage. She asked me if I would like to try the second tablet, but by now my mind and brain had simply stopped working. Just couldn't comprehend it. So I told her I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do. She's given me a month to think it over and make a decision. The tablet can only be prescribed by Packworth and not by any doctor. What an absolute nightmare. stay as I am, knowing my ability to breathe will get worse, and probably quickly, or taking a tablet that may slow down the scar damage, but will give me kidney problems that I couldn't afford to have to add to my current acute kidney damage. What a choice. In other videos that I've put up, I state, do not believe things could get any worse. Well, they can and do, and there's another prime example of what can and does go wrong. It's the day after my Papworth visit, and I look back over the years and try to think what on earth could have caused the damage. The doctor says it's not possible to state with accuracy what it is, but some stage in my life I've been working in a dusty atmosphere, and the fine dust has got into my lungs, started to cause irritation, which has led to the scarring of my lungs. Well, the first job was as an export customs clerk in a shipping agency in Fenchurch Street in London, so probably not that. My second job, if you can call it a job, was to get conscripted in the National Service, where everyone of my age had to do 2 years. Bloody hell. I'd done my 2 years in the Pay Corps, again an office job, so not much chance of getting that job. The only good thing about going in the army for 2 years, it does teach you a lot of things, and I think all young people, women, young girls included, would be far better people if they'd done 2 years national service. But I did find one thing, natural calling in the Pay Corps. I found I was really good at firing a rifle. Now, where that come from, I haven't got a clue. But I was good, and I finished up representing the Pay Corps in shooting contests throughout the country. My fourth job was to work for the War Office as an inspector of armaments based in Clapham, London. Now, I did visit factories that were government contracts, but I don't recall any of them being dusty. So again, unlikely not to be that job. My fifth job was to work for Spillers in a mill in Royston in Hertfordshire, and then in Puckeridge, again in Hertfordshire. Now, this job was working with flour, and it was most certainly dusty. Could this be the culprit? After leaving Spillers, I worked for myself, running my own business, supplying computer data for horse racing programs, again in an office. So, by a process of elimination, it has to be Spillers. Knowing this don't help me in any way at all, unless I can prove without a shadow of doubt that they are responsible for my lung damage. Now, if there's anyone out there who's worked for Spillers, or indeed worked for any manufacturing that involves dusty materials, airborne, and have the same lung damage as me, please get in touch. Well, that's it. End of another sad, unexpected chapter in life. Talk to you again